Friends, life is not the slow march that we are taught to believe it is. Life is quicksilver, alive, vibrant, and ever-shifting. At any moment, in the twinkling of an eye, what you thought was set in stone may dissolve, and what you thought was impossible may appear before you with divine precision. The outer world may seem bound by time and process, but the inner world, the true world, knows only instant transformation. The mind that is steeped in doubt says, "It will take years for things to change. It will take struggle and striving to bring my good to me." But the awakened heart whispers, "It can be done in an instant." For the infinite does not need time. Time is the servant of the infinite. The moment you align yourself with the higher law of harmony, the moment you turn the key in the lock of your own thought, a door swings open that was always waiting for you. Life is not waiting on circumstances. Life is waiting on you. It is waiting on your permission. Every miracle waits for a willing channel, and every answered prayer waits for the mind that dares to believe. Many hold tightly to their limitations, clutching fear like a cloak, saying, "I am bound, I am stuck, I am powerless." Yet the moment you let go of that garment of fear even for a breath, the light of truth rushes in, and the chains fall away. Life can change in an instant if you let it. If you let go of the thought that insists change must be hard, or long, or beyond your reach. The unseen laws are simple: what you speak, you shape; what you expect, you invite; what you allow, you live. The universe is never resisting you, only echoing you. Like a mirror, it reflects the images you dare to hold before it. Consider that the wealth you seek, the health you long for, the love you desire, are not traveling toward you from afar. They are already here, vibrating at the door of your consciousness, waiting for your recognition. The instant you see with new eyes, the instant you affirm with conviction, "This is mine by divine right," the universe rearranges itself in your favor. We are told that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Substance is not far off, it is immediate. It does not need years to mature. It needs only one moment of fearless acceptance. The floodgates of good open not by effort, but by permission. And permission is granted in an instant. Think not of how long you have been waiting. Think only of how ready you are to receive. For life does not measure your past, it measures your openness now. And in the holy now, transformation is always possible. What seems fixed dissolves. What seems lost returns. What seems impossible arrives. Instant transformation begins with inner permission. For nothing in life can truly shift until you grant it entry through the gates of your own consciousness. Every man and woman holds the key. Yet many live as though locked outside their own treasure house, waiting for someone else to open the door. They pray, they plead, they hope, but deep within they have not yet given themselves the sacred. Yes, the universe, being perfectly ordered, cannot impose itself upon an unwilling mind. It does not violate free will. It stands ready, overflowing with abundance. Yet it waits silently for the moment you permit it to move through you. When you decide inwardly, when you release the resistance of doubt and the hesitation of fear, the outer world reorders itself to match your allowance. The shift does not require years of toil, nor does it depend on the slow grind of worldly logic. It depends only on the inner consent you offer. To grant permission is to align with divine law, to say with the heart and not merely the lips, "I am ready for my good." And the instant that readiness is sincere, doors appear where once there were walls. Most live believing that change must come through struggle. They repeat to themselves, "I must work harder, I must prove myself, I must earn what I desire." Yet this belief is itself a locked gate, and no matter how long they labor, the gate remains closed until they allow themselves to be free of that thought. The truth is simple: your good does not arrive because of effort. It arrives because of alignment. And alignment is but a thought away. In the moment you release the burden of believing you must strive endlessly, the very striving ceases to block the flow of what was already waiting to enter. Inner permission is the dissolving of resistance. It is the gentle yielding of the soul that ceases to say, "Not yet, not me, not possible. How many times has life offered opportunities? And how many times has the fearful mind refused them? How often have you turned away from the very blessing you prayed for, saying to yourself, "It cannot be that easy," or "I do not deserve it"? These small refusals accumulate, and they create the illusion of delay. Yet the moment you permit yourself to accept, to believe, to claim, the years of seeming delay collapse, and the instant reveals itself. The permission begins as a quiet choice, not a loud declaration. It is an inner shift, as subtle as the lifting of a veil. You may not feel the earth shake or hear trumpets sound, but you will notice a calm certainty arising within you. A knowing that what you desire is already yours in the unseen, and that it is only awaiting your embrace. That knowing is the signature of inner permission. It is the sign that you have stepped aside, that you have stopped blocking the river, and that you are allowing the waters of good to flow in their natural course. Those who grant themselves permission walk through life differently. They do not beg, they do not chase, they do not strain. Instead, they walk as though what they desire is already secure, because they have accepted it within first. This acceptance radiates outward, and circumstances reorganize themselves accordingly. To others, it looks like sudden fortune or unexpected blessings, but to the one who has given permission, it feels natural, inevitable, simply the outworking of what was already true within. The instant is always available, for time is no barrier to spirit. The outer world of clocks and calendars may suggest that progress requires duration, but in the realm of the unseen, change is not bound by minutes or years. When the inner permission is granted, what once seemed impossible becomes the next logical step. A job appears, a relationship is restored, a healing unfolds, an opportunity arrives. None of these are miracles to the awakened. They are simply the reflection of the inner allowance. To understand this is to realize that you are never waiting on life. Life is waiting on you. The blessings you seek are not in some distant future, nor are they withheld by some stern hand of fate. They hover at the edge of your awareness, ready to manifest the moment you lift the veil of resistance. The resistance may take the form of doubt, fear, guilt, or unworthiness. But all these shadows vanish in the light of permission. For permission is the act of saying, "I release these false beliefs. I choose to see differently. I open the door." It is not the world that is closed, it is the mind that closes itself with its own bars of disbelief. To grant permission is to remove those bars one by one, until the cage is gone and the infinite sky is revealed. In that moment, the transformation is not gradual but immediate, because it was never about building something new, but about allowing what was already there to be seen. Inner permission is power, yet it is not force. It is not the will that clenches its fist and demands. It is the will that relaxes and surrenders to truth. To permit is to trust, to allow. To believe that the universe is benevolent and that its gifts are yours by divine right. This attitude does not push against life, it flows with it. And because it flows, it attracts without struggle and manifests without delay. When you finally give yourself permission to be whole, to be wealthy, to be loved, to be free, you stop fighting against your own good. You stop contradicting your desires with thoughts of unworthiness or impossibility. You stop canceling your affirmations with fears. You simply let it be, and in letting it be, it becomes. That is the instant of transformation, the holy moment where heaven touches earth in the form of your lived experience. The unseen laws respond to thought, word, and belief. For every vibration you send forth sets in motion a chain of unseen currents that ultimately shape the visible world around you. Nothing occurs by chance, though to the unawakened mind it may appear as accident or coincidence. In truth, every experience is but the harvest of seeds sown in consciousness, whether through deliberate thought or careless imagining. Life does not discriminate, it faithfully mirrors what is impressed upon it. For the law is exact and impartial. It knows no favoritism, nor does it yield to pleading or lamentation. It responds only to the pattern that is placed within it, and that pattern is determined by what you think, what you speak, and what you believe. Your thoughts are the architects of form. They are silent builders, ceaselessly shaping the unseen substance of life into structures that later appear as circumstances. A thought of fear plants itself and grows into experiences that confirm the fear, while a thought of faith plants itself and blossoms into events that confirm the faith. Each thought carries with it a magnetic power, drawing to itself those conditions that match its nature. When you dwell on lack, lack hastens to fulfill itself. When you dwell on abundance, abundance rushes forward to answer. There is no partiality in the law, it only knows how to echo. Words are thought crystallized into vibration, and their power is multiplied because they are spoken into the ethers. A careless word of doubt is like a command issued to the invisible forces, and they obey without questioning. To say, "I never have enough," is to set the law into motion to prove you correct. To say, "I am always provided for," is to give the same law a new instruction, and it begins to reorganize circumstances accordingly. Words are not idle. They are charged with creative fire. Every declaration becomes a decree, and every decree sets in motion events that unfold in perfect precision. Belief is the final seal upon thought and word, for belief determines the degree of conviction. You may think a thought and speak a word, but if you do not believe it, the vibration is weakened. Yet when thought, word, and belief align in harmony, the effect is instantaneous and powerful. Belief is the fuel that ignites the engine of creation. To believe with certainty is to engrave the pattern upon the invisible fabric of life so deeply that it must appear in form. Even a small belief, if held with consistency, will eventually manifest, for the law cannot deny what is imprinted upon it. The unseen laws are impartial servants, yet most people unknowingly misuse them. They scatter thoughts of fear, they speak words of complaint, they harbor beliefs of limitation. And then they wonder why life reflects back hardship. The law is not punishing them. It is merely echoing what they themselves have impressed upon it. The universe is like a mirror, incapable of reflecting anything other than the image placed before it. If you dislike the reflection, you must change the image, not the mirror. To work in harmony with the unseen laws is to cultivate awareness of your mental and verbal patterns. It is to take responsibility for what you allow to circulate in your consciousness. When you guard your thoughts, refine your words, and strengthen your beliefs, you direct the law to manifest what you truly desire. A gardener does not plant weeds and then expect roses. He plants roses deliberately, knowing the soil will grow whatever seed it receives. The same is true for consciousness. Whatever seed of thought is planted with belief will bear fruit, whether sweet or bitter. Consider the one who constantly affirms illness, speaking of symptoms, rehearsing stories of pain, expecting decline. The law hears only the repeated pattern and reproduces it faithfully. Yet another, who affirms health, who speaks life, who believes in vitality, begins to experience conditions that align with that belief. The body itself responds to the invisible instruction given by consciousness. Cells, organs, and functions are not separate from thought. They are influenced and directed by it. In the same way, relationships, finances, and opportunities are all subject to the unseen commands issued by thought, word, and belief. Some imagine that the law responds only to strong emotions, yet even quiet, habitual thoughts carry weight. It is not only the dramatic declarations that shape life but also the subtle undercurrents repeated day after day. The passing worry, the idle complaint, the silent doubt, all are instructions written upon the unseen. The law does not measure the size of the thought, it simply multiplies what it is given. Therefore, it is wise to cultivate the smallest thought as carefully as the largest. Faithful use of the unseen laws requires discipline, but not strain. It is not a matter of forcing thoughts or pretending belief where none exists. It is a gentle training of the mind, a consistent choosing of words, a nurturing of beliefs until they grow strong. As you persist, the old patterns of limitation dissolve, and new patterns take root. The outer results may appear gradual, but the inner law is always immediate. The moment the new seed is planted with belief, the process begins. The harvest will come in due time, just as surely as a seed placed in fertile soil must sprout. Many marvel when sudden good fortune comes, calling it luck or coincidence, but nothing is random. Every so-called stroke of luck is the result of thoughts, words, and beliefs previously sound. What appears sudden is merely the visible manifestation of an unseen process that has been quietly at work all along. Likewise, what appears as misfortune is the unfolding of seeds sown unconsciously. The wise do not blame the harvest, they examine the seed. The power of belief is so great that it can override circumstances. A person who believes strongly enough in success will succeed, even when all outer signs point to failure, for the law must eventually align the outer with the inner. Conversely, one who believes firmly in failure will fail, even when opportunities surround them, because the law will find a way to confirm the belief. Circumstances are not the cause, they are the effect. The cause is always invisible, rooted in thought, word, and belief. When you realize this, you cease to argue with appearances. You no longer rail against conditions, for you know they are but reflections of what has already been impressed upon the unseen. Instead, you turn inward, adjusting the thought, refining the word, strengthening the belief. You know that by changing the cause, the effect must follow. This is the mastery of life, the art of working with the unseen laws rather than against them. Fear binds, but release invites divine order. For fear is the invisible chain that fastens the soul to conditions of limitation. It is the belief in danger, lack, loss, and failure that keeps men and women imprisoned in circumstances they long to escape. Fear does not simply dwell in the mind as a passing shadow. It impresses itself upon the unseen law, and the law responds with conditions that echo the fear. The very thing dreaded is magnetized, and the circle of bondage grows stronger with each anxious thought. Yet the moment fear is released, even for an instant, divine order is free to enter. What appeared as confusion finds harmony, what seemed tangled straightens, what was blocked opens wide. For divine order needs only a willing channel through which to flow. Fear convinces the mind to clutch, to grip, to hold tightly, to control. Yet this very grasping prevents the natural movement of life. Imagine a clenched fist holding so tightly to what it fears to lose that no new blessing can be placed within it. Only when the fist opens, when the hand relaxes, can something greater be given. Release is the act of opening that hand. It is the willingness to let go of the imagined control, to trust that the universe is not hostile but benevolent, that life is not plotting against you but working for you. In that surrender, the rigid chains of fear melt, and order reestablishes itself effortlessly. Fear blinds the eyes to possibilities. It whispers lies of insufficiency. There is not enough, you are not enough, the way is blocked, danger is ahead. Under its influence, the mind becomes narrow, seeing only obstacles. Yet release widens vision. When fear is dropped, even slightly, 1,000 paths appear where once there seemed none. What was thought impossible suddenly seems natural, because fear was never the reality. It was only the veil obscuring reality. The release of fear is the lifting of that veil, and in the light of truth, order reveals itself as always present, always ready, always sufficient. Divine order is the natural state of all life. It is the harmony underlying every seeming chaos, the rhythm beneath every appearance of discord. Just as a river finds its way to the sea without effort, so too does life find its way to balance when left unblocked. Fear is the stone thrown in the river, creating turbulence and resistance, but the river still moves. Release is the act of removing the stone, allowing the waters to flow smoothly once again. Nothing needs to be forced, for divine order requires no pushing. It only requires the absence of interference. Those who live under fear often attempt to arrange their lives by control, by endless planning, by defending against imagined calamities. Yet the more they grasp, the more chaotic life appears, for fear attracts the very confusion it resists. In contrast, the one who releases fear and trusts divine order walks with quiet assurance. This assurance is not born of naivety but of alignment. They know that even if appearances shift, the underlying current of good remains steady. Because they do not bind themselves with worry. They allow solutions to rise naturally, often in ways they could never have contrived through their own anxious planning. Fear is heavy, pressing upon the mind and body with its weight. It drains vitality, clouds judgment, and distorts perception. Release is light, lifting the spirit into freedom. When you release fear, even momentarily, a surge of energy moves through you, as though you have been carrying a burden that was never yours. The release is not the denial of responsibility. It is the denial of the false belief that life is against you. By letting go of that illusion, you restore harmony to your body, clarity to your mind, and openness to your heart. To release fear does not mean to banish every tremor of anxiety from your being. It means to choose not to give it authority. Fear may knock at the door, but you need not invite it in. You may acknowledge its presence, yet refuse to dwell upon its message. With every refusal, fear weakens until it no longer binds you. Each act of trust, each moment of surrender, strengthens the pathway of divine order, until it becomes the natural response. Where once fear dictated every choice, release now guides the way. Divine order does not arrive as a reward. It is already here. Fear obscures it, and release reveals it. Imagine a room filled with sunlight, yet covered by heavy curtains. The sunlight is present, but the curtains prevent its entrance. Fear is that curtain, drawn tightly across the windows of your life. Release is the simple act of pulling it back. The light floods in, not because it was newly created, but because it was always there, awaiting your permission to enter. Every life holds stories of how fear created delay and how release brought swift resolution. A person fears losing a job, and their worry grows until mistakes multiply and the loss becomes inevitable. Yet another, faced with the same possibility, chooses to release fear, affirming quietly, "Divine order governs my work. What is mine by right cannot be taken from me." In that release, doors open. Either the current position stabilizes or a greater opportunity emerges. The difference is not chance. It is the choice between fear and release. Fear binds relationships as well. It clings, it grasps, it distrusts, creating the very tension it dreads. Release brings harmony, for it allows love to flow freely, unforced and unconditioned. To release fear in love is to trust that what is real cannot be lost, and what departs was never meant to stay. Divine order governs even human connections, weaving them together and loosening them apart, according to higher wisdom. The fearful heart tries to dictate, but the released heart knows that true companionship flourishes under freedom, not under chains. In the realm of health, fear magnifies symptoms and cements illness, for the body listens closely to the voice of the mind. To fear sickness is to impress sickness, while to release fear is to open the way for healing. Divine order regulates every cell, every organ, every function, and when fear is released, that order resumes its natural harmony. Healing often appears miraculous, but it is simply the restoration of what was hindered. Fear binds in the world of supply as well, whispering that resources are scarce, that prosperity is distant, that loss is near. This fear causes hoarding, desperation, and anxious striving, all of which push supply further away. Release, however, trusts the invisible source, affirming that abundance flows according to divine order. The released mind is open to unexpected channels, to sudden provision, to opportunities unseen. It does not clutch at pennies, for it knows the treasury of the universe is limitless. By refusing to bind itself with fear, it becomes the channel through which supply can pour freely. Good is not delayed. It awaits recognition. For the blessings you seek are not moving toward you from some distant horizon, they are already present in the unseen, pressing at the gates of your consciousness, waiting only for your acceptance. The idea that good takes time to arrive is a deception of the senses, for time is an illusion of the outer world, while good belongs to the eternal now. The moment you recognize it, the moment you claim it with conviction, it begins to take form before your eyes. The harvest does not wait on the soil, it waits on the seed. The seed is your recognition, and the soil is life itself, ever fertile, ever ready to bring forth whatever is planted within it. Delay is not in the law. Delay is in the mind that refuses to see. The universe does not withhold, it only mirrors. If you believe that blessings are far off, they appear far off. If you believe that abundance is reserved for some distant future, it will remain postponed indefinitely. Recognition collapses the illusion of distance. For in recognizing, you make real what was already true. The moment you affirm, I am provided for now, the law sets itself in motion to reflect that truth. The provision may appear through unexpected channels, but it was never delayed. It was always present, waiting for you to open your eyes to it. Think of a room filled with treasures, but shrouded in darkness. You stumble and complain that nothing is there, yet the treasures fill the space from wall to wall. The instant you strike a light, the room is revealed, not because the treasures arrived at that moment, but because you finally saw them. Good is like that. It does not arrive, it is revealed through recognition. Your recognition is the light, and the treasures respond by making themselves visible. Many souls live in a state of waiting. They wait for circumstances to improve, for people to change, for years to pass before they allow themselves to believe in good. In their waiting, they postpone what could be theirs now. Recognition does not ask for tomorrow, it demands the present moment. The law cannot act in yesterday, nor can it act in tomorrow. It can only act now. Every moment of postponement is a moment of delay that you yourself create. The instant you shift your awareness, the instant you say, it is already mine by divine right, the law responds in kind. Good is not something to be earned by suffering or prolonged effort. That belief itself is a form of blindness. The universe is not a stern master demanding toil before reward, it is a generous giver, ceaselessly pouring forth abundance. If it seems that good is withheld, it is because recognition has been withheld. Just as a radio cannot play music unless tuned to the right frequency, so too can you not experience good until your mind is attuned to its presence. The music is always there, filling the airwaves, but you hear it only when you recognize the channel. Recognition is the tuning of the inner receiver. It is the choice to align thought, word, and belief with the truth that good is already here. To recognize abundance is to speak as though it is present, to act as though it is secure, to believe as though it is inevitable. This recognition draws the unseen into form. It is not a struggle, for nothing new is being created, it is a revelation of what has always existed in the invisible. Consider the person who constantly says, one day I will prosper, one day I will be happy, one day things will change. They live in the perpetual future, and the future never arrives. Another says, I am prosperous now, I am happy now, I am blessed now, and life reorganizes to confirm that recognition. Outer circumstances may not yet fully reflect it, but the inner declaration sets the law into motion, and soon the outer aligns with the inner. The difference lies not in opportunity or fate, but in recognition. The illusion of delay is strengthened by appearances. You may look at your bank account and see lack, at your body and see weakness, at your life and see emptiness. The senses declare loudly, there is no good here. Yet the unseen law whispers, look again with different eyes. Recognition is not the denial of appearances. It is the refusal to let appearances dictate truth. Appearances shift, they rise and fall, they vanish and return, but truth is eternal. The truth is that good is always present, whether or not the senses acknowledge it. To train yourself in recognition is to practice gratitude for what already exists, even when small. Gratitude sharpens the vision and expands the awareness of good. The more you notice, the more you recognize, and the more the law reflects abundance back to you. Recognition is not a mental exercise only, it is a spiritual posture. It is the deep knowing that beneath every appearance, good is active, ready to emerge at the first sign of acceptance. Many imagine that when something is lost, good has departed. Yet in truth, good is never gone, only changing form. Recognition allows you to see beyond the loss into the new channel, through which good now wishes to flow. The person who clings to the old form says, my good has vanished. The one who recognizes says, my good is here in another way. And by that recognition, they meet it without delay. Even in hardship, recognition transforms the experience. Where fear sees punishment, recognition sees redirection. Where despair sees emptiness, recognition sees the preparation for greater fullness. Recognition never waits for perfect conditions, it finds the thread of good even in imperfection, and by finding it pulls more of it into visibility. This is not blind optimism, but spiritual law. What you recognize grows stronger, and what you ignore withers away. Good is immediate, but it requires your consent. Recognition is that consent, the granting of permission for good to reveal itself. Without it, the law remains silent, mirroring back uncertainty. With it, the law responds at once, shifting circumstances to match your awareness. The outer world bends itself around the inner declaration, proving again and again that delay is but an illusion sustained by doubt. Faith opens doors without effort or time. For faith is the key that turns the invisible into the visible, the unseen into the seen, the hoped for into the experienced. Faith does not ask for proof, it provides its own proof by the quiet certainty it carries. Where fear questions and doubts, faith declares and accepts. Where reason demands explanation, faith rests in assurance. It does not struggle, it does not labor, it does not argue, it simply knows. And in that knowing, the doors that seemed locked swing wide, as though they were never shut at all. Faith operates in a realm beyond effort. Effort is the attempt of the human will to force outcomes, to bend circumstances by sheer strain. Faith bypasses effort by aligning with the higher law that is already working in harmony. When one is in faith, there is no need to push against life, for faith flows with life. It is not idle or passive, but it is effortless, because it does not attempt to carry the burden of control. Faith hands the burden to the infinite, and in so doing, experiences the release of miracles that human striving could never achieve. Time is an illusion to faith, for faith lives in the eternal now. The mind bound by time says, perhaps someday, but faith says, it is now. The outer world may still be arranging itself into visible form, but faith already claims the reality of the unseen. In this way, faith collapses time, drawing the desired into the present. What others wait years to see, faith perceives immediately, and because it perceives, it manifests. The invisible law responds to conviction, not to the clock, and conviction is what faith supplies. Faith opens doors because it acts as recognition in its highest form. It not only acknowledges the presence of good, but fully accepts it as already accomplished. To have faith in supply is to live as though supply is certain, to speak as though abundance is present, to expect provision without hesitation. That expectation itself sets the unseen law in motion. To have faith in health is to affirm vitality, even when appearances suggest weakness. To trust the deeper order that governs every cell, to believe in harmony where the senses cry disorder. Faith gives the command, and the law obeys. There is no door so strong that faith cannot open it, for every door is only a belief in limitation made visible. Faith dissolves the belief and reveals the way. Where there seemed to be no path, faith uncovers a path. Where there seemed to be no opportunity, faith calls forth opportunity. Where there seemed to be no hope, faith declares hope and sees it fulfilled. These openings are not accidents. They are the natural outworking of the law responding to unwavering conviction. Many misunderstand faith as wishful thinking, but faith is not wishing. Wishing is weak, uncertain, filled with longing but lacking conviction. Faith is substance. It is the very evidence of things unseen. The inner assurance that no matter what appearances suggest, the truth is already established. Faith does not beg or hope, it claims and knows. This inner stance is what opens doors, because the universe cannot resist conviction. It must mirror it, just as surely as an echo repeats a sound. Faith is magnetic. It draws to itself people, circumstances, and opportunities that align with its vibration. The one who walks in faith finds doors swinging open, where others find them locked, not because of favoritism, but because of alignment. Faith tunes the soul to the frequency of the desired outcome, and in that resonance, the invisible and visible connect. The so-called coincidences of life are the footprints of faith at work. Effort often creates resistance. In trying too hard, One unconsciously affirms that the desired good is distant, difficult, or uncertain. Faith eliminates resistance, for it affirms that the good is already here, already accomplished, already certain. In that certainty, the struggle ceases and the path clears. What seemed like obstacles dissolve, not because the world changed suddenly, but because faith no longer perceived them as obstacles. Faith changes the lens through which life is seen, and in changing the lens, it changes the life. Time is conquered by faith because faith is rooted in eternity. To the eternal, all is now, and faith lives from that place. When one believes that manifestation requires years, they have sound delay into the law. But when faith declares, "It is already so," the law obeys immediately. The outer form may appear gradually to the senses, but in truth, the shift was instant. Faith had already claimed it, and once claimed, the manifestation is inevitable. Faith does not demand visible signs to be certain. In fact, it is strongest in the absence of signs, for it knows that the unseen precedes the seen. The farmer does not dig up his seeds each morning to check for growth. He trusts the law of growth. Likewise, faith trusts the invisible law of manifestation. It plants the seed of conviction and rests in assurance, knowing that the harvest is certain. This rest is not passivity, it is power. It is the calm authority of one who knows the law and relies upon it without wavering. The beauty of faith is that it requires no special conditions, no perfect environment, no extended preparation. It can be exercised here and now, in any circumstance, by anyone who dares to believe. The poorest can believe themselves rich and doors open. The sick can believe themselves whole, and healing begins. The lonely can believe themselves loved and companionship arrives. Faith is the universal key, available to all, and it works without delay once it is applied. Every door in life represents a threshold, a passage from one state to another. Fear sees the door as locked, doubt declares it too heavy to move, reason says the key is missing. Faith simply turns the handle, and the door yields. This is not because the door was truly barred, but because belief made it so. Faith removes the belief, and the opening is revealed. In this way, faith shows that what we call barriers are only illusions, shadows created by disbelief. Faith is the great simplifier of life. It removes the burden of endless striving, the anxiety of waiting, the torment of uncertainty. It replaces them with certainty, ease, and immediacy. It does not postpone, it does not complicate, it does not confuse. It affirms truth directly, and truth responds directly. Faith knows that the universe is ordered, abundant, and generous, and in that knowing, it experiences the universe as such.